Welcome! Today it's in English and it's a little bit more cheerful than it usually is. The topic of today is how do we create new ideas? How do we innovate? And I have a special guest here, Penney Pierce. You're an expert on intuition and frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
You are a best-selling author.
Yes.
And what you did was, one of the books you did was this one, The Intuitive Way.
That's the first one.
That was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been translated into Danish. And this is basically about how do we use the intuition to become the new idea, to create the new ideas, and how do we know when we are using it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually a whole course on intuition development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have this really practical way of thinking and working with intuition.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was a corporate art director and graphic designer for many years, and so I always thought about, problem solving a lot, very grounded. So I started getting interested in intuition as a method, for making the work more successful. Like, how do you design a logo for someone? To create a symbol that represents what they actually are.
Yeah.
And it's not really a logical process. It's more like you have to feel into the kind of energy they have or the kind of thing they symbolize in their work, and then allow that symbol to kind of arise out of some place inside your imagination and feel how it matches up. So I think there's such a power in intuition that we really don't honor.
Yeah.
We're so stuck in our left brain, in our logic, analytical work, what worked in the past, that we just think, well, we'll use that again.
Yeah.
But the intuition lets you be in the present moment and get fresh new ideas.
Yeah. And you talk about the left and the right brain. What happens up here when we make new ideas?
To be very simple about it, I think the left brain is the place where we have all the logic, analytical ability. We also have language in the left brain. We have this urge to define and create meaning. So things get compartmentalized, and we make a meaning out of something, and then they kind of lock it down, and say, okay, this is a rule now.
Okay, so this is where we make patterns? This is where we calculate?
We make patterns conscious.
Yes.
The right brain is the access to patterns in general, and it has no language. It is like the experience in the right brain is more like a direct immersion into the whole unified field of energy in the universe. Everything's there all at once. And it's almost like you can't really make things conscious unless the left brain comes in and sort of interrupts the right brain and focuses on something. And then it comes out of the background and it can become conscious and you can know it.
Okay.
But in order to access amazing new genius ideas, you have to leave the left brain. And that means leave the description and the talking and analyzing and trying to figure it out, and go directly into this quiet place. Because remember, the intuition and right brain, there's no language there at first. You have to get quiet in order to feel into, something. And then, it's like magic, something just pops up to the surface. You go into it with kind of a desire. Like, I'd love a new idea for an invention or how to solve this problem, and just kind of hold that and then let it go and be quiet, and an idea pops up.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
It is, yeah. It is like, people always say they get their best inspirations in the shower.
Yeah, we say that. Yeah. While you're walking.
So many scientific discoveries have come in when the scientists were taking a nap. Many examples, like the Singer sewing machine. The guy who invented the needle where you put the thread through the eye of the needle dreamed about natives in Africa with spears that had holes in the end of them.
Really? Was that invented in a dream?
Yes, in a dream.
Okay, do you realize we're talking about here. The needle that's in a sewing machine was invented in a dream. That was the right brain.
Yeah, yeah.
So Penny, here's a classical problem. We are 5 people at this meeting, and there is no good ideas on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to do a logo, or we want to do something new.
Right.
What do we do then?
Well, I think that if you have to be open to doing things that are a little bit weird, you know, you know, because it's not logical.
Right.
So you might have someone guide people into a quiet state, even have them imagine that they're lending all their attention into, like, let's say, a big crystal ball in the center of the circle.
Yeah.
And then ask for the answer and get really blank. And then let the crystal ball come up with an answer and let it come back, pieces of it, to each person. And then take the first ideas you get and put them on the table and then see, well, how do they fit together?
So that's what we're going to do. When we do branding or we do a logo, we're going to do a crystal ball in the middle of the table. We're going to ask for the good ideas.
Yeah.
And that's when the right brain
it allows the right brain to percolate some bubbles up to the surface.
Yeah.
So that and the more you can be quiet and trust the process and give it some space and time, the more these things will come. And also be silly.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to be serious about this, you know, like, because then it almost like closes off, you know, the flow.
Yeah.
So you have to stay fluid. And that means out of fixations. You can't have contracted energy or contracted ideas. It has to be vary the routine, you know, change it up, stir it up, and think. It's like brainstorming kind of does that.
Yeah. More and more people talk about it's in a flow. We have a flow here.
Right. And you have to be able to feel a lot of this in your body. Yeah. Intuition is very body related.
Okay.
You know, so when you go toward a solution that makes your body contract and feel heavy, it might not be very accurate or useful.
Okay.
It's like an anxiety signal as opposed to a truth signal.
Yeah.
So when you hear an idea that's just right, not right, but it's perfect, it's appropriate, there's a feeling in the body of, often, you know, people feel it differently, but some people get chills, they ooh, you know, that feels true.
Yeah.
Or some people bubble and get spreading feelings and they feel like leaning towards something. Mm-hmm. Or when it's not true, they lean away.
They reject. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, you know. And there's that instinct of the body will give you the first answer.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think everybody knows when they hear something that's really right, it's really true for this moment. You know, and sometimes people say, oh, it just went like this. It clicks. You know, it landed, you know, or they have different signals.
That was actually my question to you. When do we know if, you know, when we make ideas, you have like 1,000 ideas, then when do I know this is the right one?
It really is a feeling.
Yeah.
The first sense of it will be that just right feeling, like, almost like a sense of relief or excitement, or the light bulb goes off, or, you know, you have that lighting up feeling, or spring fever, do you know, like in the spring, ooh. Yeah. And then the left brain can come in and say, oh, that's a good idea because blah, 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 you know, it serves this problem, and it does this, and it does this.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll appeal to these people, and, you know, and then you explain it. But the real first choice comes from that feeling state.
So, I know when I'm right, when it clicks.
Yeah.
When it clicks.
Or it rings true, you know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What is it about creative people? You have been working creatively before you started writing about intuition. Do they have a special way of entering the brain, the right brain, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think that they do have a way of stopping, and I always call it stop and drop. You know, stop your mind, get into your body, feel, and often like you'll sense, okay, I could do it this way. This color would be better. Yes, tiny nuances of the way of combining variables.
Yeah.
And you learn this when you work with intuition, to pay attention to these very subtle expansions and contractions, or things that click in the teeny click,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you work it, and you do something, and then suddenly an idea comes back to you.
Yeah.
And you do another thing, and another idea comes back to you out of the imaginal realm, and it's not, sometimes I feel like it's not all up to me. I start a process and I start thinking about it, and then something gives me another piece of information.
Yeah.
Like a higher part of us, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's almost like a dialogue.
I know that feeling. I used to write books. I'm a writer as well, and I know that feeling that when you write something, then you're quiet for a while. Something happens. It adjusts, and then comes back.
Right.
So it's like up and down.
Yeah, or that's not the right word. Just a minute. I have to think about it, and then it comes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but if you're in a hurry, which today we are pressured, we're often ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not in the present moment. We're in the future, looking at the goal, and then it makes us rush to get there. But if you bring all that back into the present moment and just be here right now, centered, and then look at a question, and there's no urgency, it gives it space, like to come.
Yeah.
When you're pressing forward, there's no space, psychic space, if you want to call it. You have to have that kind of, it's a spaciousness. Right.
So if we move that knowledge into this meeting room, where no innovation is being done, I have been there a million times. What do I do then?
You might change the focus. We're solving this problem.
Yeah.
At too much pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do another exercise where maybe we're going to read something about each other that we don't know. Say something silly about the other person. Like if they were a kind of animal, what would they be? Just something silly.
Yeah.
Just to get the imagination going a little bit, and play, laugh a little, be silly. Okay, now turn your attention back to the idea of coming up with a new product or a new angle.
Yeah.
And with the same energy you just used in the exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's not so serious and heavy, and it's all loose and open. And the flow starts again. Because when you go at it like this, you stop the flow. It's too much pressure.
Yeah.
When you say should, it stops intuition.
Okay. No should.
No shoulds.
And then the crystal ball on the table.
The crystal ball.
And we ask, what is the good ideas here?
Right.
We write it down.
Right.
Penney Pierce, thank you so much for coming here and sharing with me.
Thank you so
and
much.
everybody else, how to use intuition when you want to make new ideas. I hope you have a great day and get a lot of new ideas.